Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm an insomniac. Yeah, not really. I'm Michelle Dewberry. It's 6 o'clock and this is Dewbs & Co. I've only been off for 2 days. It's all been going Pete-tock in the meantime, hasn't it? We have got a lot to discuss. I want to talk to you about this leadership contest then, the deputy leader for the Labour Party. Should that have to be a woman? Really? I find that utterly pathetic. What about you? Also, Kemi Badenoch, she has been giving a speech today suggesting that the Labour Party and the Tories can team up to try and get welfare reforms over the line. Should Keir Starmer accept that or not? Also tonight, I want to talk to you about NHS league tables. Is this a good idea so that you can at a glance see what's happening with your trust? Some people saying that those descriptions are unfair. Toughen up a little bit, that's what I say. And the African Union now demanding reparations from Britain. Hold on a second. Have you seen the track record of some of these African nations? Perhaps they'd be better served asking for reparations from themselves. Maybe I'm just being harsh. All of that and lots more keeping me company. My panel tonight, I've got Baroness Jacqueline Foster, the Tory peer and former MEP, and alongside her I've got Dr Krish Kandaya, the founder of the Sanctuary Foundation. But before we get stuck in, let's give you your 6 o'clock news headlines.
Michelle, thank you very much. The top story, Sir Keir Starmer has condemned Israel's attack on Qatar, saying it violates Qatar's sovereignty and risks further escalation across the region. Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel takes full responsibility for its strike on Hamas leaders in Qatar's capital, Doha. A Hamas official saying its negotiating team was targeted during a meeting. It's understood the son of Hamas leader Khalil al-Hayya was killed in the attack, but it's also understood that the group's leadership survived. The strike comes just months after explosions were reported over the city in June when missiles were launched by Iran aimed at US air bases in the region. Israeli media is reporting that US President Donald Trump gave Israel his approval for the attack today. Qatar's foreign ministry says the attack is a blatant violation of international law. The IDF says it conducted a precise strike and those targeted are directly responsible for the brutal October 7th massacre. Meanwhile, Hamas has claimed responsibility for yesterday's deadly shooting on the outskirts of Jerusalem that left 6 Israelis dead and 8 more wounded. Police say 2 gunmen opened fire on people waiting at a bus stop before being shot dead by an off-duty soldier. Benjamin Netanyahu called it part of Israel's intense war against terrorism, vowing to pursue anyone who helped the attackers. Elsewhere today, rescue services were faced with chaotic scenes in the English Channel today as a female migrant died and dozens of others were rescued. A mayday call was issued just before 2 p.m. after one migrant boat got into difficulties just as it arrived in UK waters. Maritime sources have told GB News a significant number of migrants ended up falling overboard and into the Channel. More than 600 migrants made it to UK waters today, and this comes just days after more than 1,000 people made the crossing in a single day. Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson and fellow Minister Alison McGovern are among the Labour figures vying for the party's deputy leadership. Bridget Phillipson says she wants to unite the party and take on Reform UK. Former Commons leader Lucy Powell is also standing in the contest to succeed Angela Rayner. Commons Foreign Affairs Committee chairwoman Dame Emily Thornberry and backbenchers Belle Ribeiro-Addy and Paula Barker have also said that they will stand. Candidates have until Thursday evening to secure the support of 80 MPs and make it onto the ballot. A row has broken out over welfare reform, with Rachel Reeves insisting she won't take advice from Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch. The Chancellor is accusing the opposition of crashing the economy when in government after Tory MPs urged her to accept cross-party talks on cutting welfare spending. Kemi Badenoch, meanwhile, is warning Labour's so-called tax doom loop is pushing Britain closer to a bond crisis, says families are already £1,700 worse off. In other news, for the first time, NHS trusts in England have been ranked in league tables. At the top, Mooresfield Eye Hospital, followed by the Royal National Orthopaedic and the Christie Cancer Centre. At the bottom, Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Kings Lynn, where crumbling buildings have long caused problems. Health Secretary Wes Streeting says the tables will shine a light on struggling trusts and end the postcode lottery of care. But NHS leaders warn the rankings could be misleading if the wrong measures are used. London's tube strike entered a second full day today, leaving thousands of commuters stranded with almost all underground services shut down. Workers walked out on Sunday in a row over paying conditions. The network isn't expected to reopen until Friday morning. GB News spoke to commuters this morning.
It's ridiculous for 5 days to have 5 days of strike, but where is Sadiq Khan and all the City Hall people?
I can't go to work and I'm losing so much money.
Just come off a bus. Honestly, it's like sardines.
Irritating me immensely because I need to go to the doctors and I'm not sure if I'm going to make it on time.
They're causing huge amounts of disruption for millions of people and costing this country a lot of money, which you can't afford.
Nearly 100,000 more pupils are set to benefit from new school improvement teams targeting support at schools with the lowest attainment. The government says it's the next phase of its plan for change, aiming to drive up standards and reassure parents their children are getting the education they deserve. It comes as Ofsted confirms it'll scrap single headline grades, replacing them with new report cards to give families clearer information. And finally, a bitter family feud over Rupert Murdoch's empire has ended, with his son Lachlan cementing control of Fox News and the Wall Street Journal. Under the new deal, Rupert's other children, James, Elizabeth and Prudence, will sell their shares for around $1 billion each. The agreement ends years of legal wrangling that helped inspire the hit drama Succession. Lachlan now leads the family's global media dynasty, with a new trust created to also benefit his younger siblings. And those are the latest headlines for now. More in an hour. Now it's back to Michelle.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you very much for that, and hello, good evening, everybody at home. It is 6 o'clock just gone, so you know what that means. It's your favourite time of the day. Dewbs & Co with you till 7 o'clock tonight. Alongside me, I've got my panel, Baroness Jacqueline Foster, the Tory peer and former MEP, and Dr Krish Kandaya, the founder of the Sanctuary Foundation. But it is, of course, always about you guys at home as well. Join the conversation all the usual ways. Get in touch. You can email me, gbviews@gbnews.com. You can go to the website, gbnews.com/your or you can tweet or you can X me. I was off the last couple of days, but that Weird Insomnia song, I can't get that out of my head. It was one of the strangest things I think I've ever seen, quite frankly, but it's one of those things that also goes round and around and around my ears as well. What about you? Anyway, look, there are so many political things that we need to discuss tonight, so without further ado, let's cross live to our political editor, Christopher Hope. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Michelle. Welcome to our studio here in Westminster. A huge day here, I think, in politics once again. Cabinet this morning with the first meeting since that reshuffle last Friday. Sir Keir Starmer told his cabinet they need to go up a gear. Of course, he's basically removed 3 members of cabinet, brought 3 new ones in, and basically everyone else appears to have reshuffled to a new job. So the team he thought was working, just not getting the right message across, and that's what they're trying to do there. Elsewhere, we're seeing the deputy leadership leadership of the Labour Party taking shape. Now, there are 6 candidates now, and they are all women. I'll run through them very quickly for you, Michelle. Lucy Powell, of course, the former leader of the House of Commons. Alison McGovern, a local government minister. Paula Barker, a backbench Liverpool MP. Bridget Phillipson, of course, the Education Secretary. Dame Emily Thornberry, she chairs the Foreign Affairs Select Committee there. She's on the right of the screen. And Belle Ribeiro Addy, she's a left-wing MP. Now, there's been some polling out this afternoon from Labour List, and it says this: Bridget Phillipson looks like she's a soar-away favourite to win. 39% of people backing her. Alison McGovern, 19%. Dame Emily Thornberry, 20%. And Lucy Powell, who many thought may tick the box of a northern woman deputy leader of this party, on just 1%. Belle Ribeiro Addy on 3%. It strikes me that shows that the party, if that's representative of the whole 320,000 members of the party, that says to me the party doesn't want any more dramas that they had with the last big leadership election when Jeremy Corbyn snuck in for the left. They want to have, that's all gone away now, much more of a pragmatic view of the leadership. The way it works is the nominations close on Thursday at 5 p.m. 399 Labour MPs, they must nominate, each one must get more than 80 MPs nominating them. That means that only 4 of those 6 can get to the final ballot. So we'll wait and see how that plays out. Now, elsewhere in politics and diplomacy, there's been some hoo-ha about these photographs of Peter Mandelson, who's the UK ambassador to Washington. He's been photographs emerged, historic ones from decades ago, when he was photographed with Jeffrey Epstein in one of the photographs in a bathrobe. Now, number 10, I'll try to move on from this. In fact, there was a photograph there of Peter Mandelson laughing at a joke told apparently by Jeffrey Epstein. We are told by number 10 the PM is fully focused on delivering a state visit with President Trump, and the PM's spokesman have nothing further to add to what the ambassador has said previously. Now, what Lord Mandelson has said previously is that it's long been clear that he very much regrets ever having been introduced to Jeffrey Epstein. But those photographs almost show to observers the depth of an apparent relationship there with Jeffrey Epstein, far more than a business relationship, you might think. But as things stand, the government, it doesn't want to go into that. They say nothing further to see here. But that issue did dominate the afternoon briefing with the PM's official spokesman. But as I say, Lord Mandelson says it's long been clear that he very much regrets that relationship and being introduced to Jeffrey Epstein. Michelle.
And tell us as well, then, the Kemi Badenoch side of things, then offering to work together with the Labour Party. What's that all about?
That's right. So, aside from all this, and I was outside the Parliamentary Labour Party meeting last night where Keir Starmer addressed it. Keir Starmer talked to his backbenchers about reform, about Nigel Farage, about the Green Party. He called Nigel Farage a plastic patriot. He called the Green Party plastic progressives. Didn't even mention Kemi Badenoch. And the part of the problem of the Tory party is they are not in the conversation in the building behind me, not in the conversation in Parliament. So today, Kemi Badenoch stepped up and said, I will work with this government to cut that benefits bill. Despite the Tories voting against the £5 billion cut last July, they've changed their tune. They want to work with Pat McFadden, the new Welfare Secretary, if Pat McFadden goes ahead with benefit cuts. It strikes me there's a party trying to be relevant, trying to be part of the conversation, and so far it hasn't worked. And of course, the government has frankly push that back, saying we don't need your help. We have a majority of 160. Pat McFadden's problem is, can he get enough of those MPs to support cuts to the benefits when, of course, the previous incumbent failed to do that back in the summer?
Interesting stuff. Christopher Herp, thank you very much for that. Chris, let me start with you then. This Labour, the deputy... And I do need to be clear, everybody, just in case there is any confusion. This is not, when we're talking about this kind of election for deputy leader, it's not the deputy prime minister. That treat, of course, now belongs to David Lammy. This is for the deputy leader of the Labour Party, separate things. Your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm quite pleased that Bridget Phillipson is the front runner. I've had the chance to meet her a couple of times. She's the current Secretary of State for Education, and I'm a foster parent. I've been a foster parent for 19 years, so we were talking about how we reform the system, make sure children get the support they need. And she's a really decent person. She joined the Labour Party when she was just 15 years old. I was busy playing video games and down the park when I was 15, but here's someone that's been serious about politics for a long time. I like the fact that she comes from Gateshead, that she was raised by a single mum. Her mum sounds like an incredible woman. She started a women's refuge as a charity while raising her daughter and helping her daughter get through, state school and then go to Oxford University. I think she looks like a really excellent candidate.
Is this Bridget that we're talking about? I had some noise in my ear. Was this the same Bridget that very recently, in an interview with Trevor Phillips, she had it put to her that government ministers, government solicitors basically were essentially suggesting that the wants, needs and desires of illegal migrants were more important than the Epping residents? And she was essentially asked, is that something that you agree with? That's conversation. She basically said yes. Is that Bridget?
It might well be the same Bridget. I think she was put on the spot. From what I've seen of her, she's very committed to helping British children get the support and help that they need. So I didn't see the whole interview that you're referring to.
I saw it, ladies and gents. No flies on me. Jacqueline, your thoughts on this? How important do you think this leadership race is?
Well, I saw the interview, but I'll come to that. It's very important, I think, for the party because it's the structure of the Labour Party. So really they've got to get the rank and file, apart from parliamentary colleagues and other ministers, if they happen to be a minister, on side to sort of balance everything out. I didn't agree with Harriet Harman when she said it had to be a woman. I thought that was rather patronising because, to me, really what you always need is the best person to do the job.
Absolutely.
Anyway, that's entirely up to them. But we've now got a couple of additions to the list. Alison McGovern, she is a Member of Parliament up in the Wirral, which is actually where I am, and Paula Barker, I think, is Liverpool. But let's come to the sort of four names, or three of them, that we really do know about. So we have Emily Thornberry, who's obviously very well known and was very famous for exposing white van man, was just totally disparaging about anybody with a van and anybody daring to fly an England flag outside their house. Then we come to Lucy Powell, who's obviously been in a very high position in the last year. And when the discussion took place, when she was involved in an interview on the grooming gangs, then described it as dog whistle politics. So that went down really well.
Yeah, someone brought up the grooming gangs and she just basically said, oh, here we go, you're blowing your dog whistle.
Absolutely appalling. And come to Bridget Phillipson. Well, Bridget Phillipson in education. Well, she's clearly got some sort of vindictive whatever against private schools. And a couple of her comments, and there are thousands of people who've used private schools for their kids who don't go to Eton or very famous ones. She made a statement, actually, and she said state schools need new teachers more than the private sector need new embossed stationery. State schools need mental health support more than the private schools need new swimming pools. And state schools need careers advice more than private schools need AstroTurf pitches. And this is the same person who apparently plays hockey with a ladies' hockey team up in the northeast, and they tend to use the hockey pitches of the private schools to have their hockey matches. So I'll say no more about Bridget. In terms of an expert on education, I don't really know how she's an expert on education. I know more people who would be. So that leaves Miss Ribeiro Addy. I think she's a bit of a darling of the left. So it's going to be interesting, this race, but I think people should be fully aware of actually who they're going to vote for.
It's a very short time frame, by the way, ladies and gents, which many people are not happy about. What do you think about this notion that it should essentially be a woman?
I think there's some advantages in having diversity in your leadership. You've got a male Prime Minister, why not have a female deputy?
But what if they're not the best person for the job?
Well, I think all those candidates look pretty good to me, so why not?
So would it not bother you as a man if you felt that you were the best qualified, the best able to perform that role, and you got told, actually, Chris, as wonderful as you are, that person there is going to be appointed just because they're female? And often, by the way, when it comes to the Labour Party, their definition of what a woman actually is somewhat bizarre. But don't even get me started on that topic. But would it not bother you if you were the best person for the job to be trumped just because of someone else's anatomy?
I don't think the candidates are being put forward just because they're women. They're very capable women, and I think they've got a lot to offer.
No, they were clear. Harriet Harman was interviewed, and, you know, the Labour Party is like the trade unions. They've always had a problem with women leading them. And that's why in 2025, the Labour Party haven't had a full-time leader of the Labour Party who happens to be a woman. So the next best thing, then, they start doing positive discrimination, then come up with, in my view, patronising ideas like this.
Yeah, I find Are you a woman? And how do you feel about this? I'm always interested in this because, yes, great, you might be able to leapfrog just because of your biological sex. But really, is that in the best interest of this country? I'm not saying that there's no capable women. What I'm saying is jobs should only ever be on who is the best person for this job, particularly in such an important role as potentially leading the country. The very best person only is the one that should be elected, in my humble opinion. But if you disagree, get in touch, join the conversation. Speaking of women, what glamorous one Jacqueline is. When she's talking, I'm mesmerised. Look at her with the coordinating brooches, and we should do a little side segment, fashion, with Miss Jacqueline. That'd be a winner, wouldn't it? Anyway, look, we've got lots that we need to discuss tonight. I want to talk about whether or not Labour and the Tories should join forces to push over the line welfare reforms. I also want to speak to you about so much more. I'll see you in a second.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Hello there, Michelle Dewberry with you till 7 o'clock alongside me, Baroness Jacqueline Foster and Dr. Krish Kandai. And I in very high esteemed company tonight, a doctor, a baroness. I'm lowering the tone in the middle here, aren't I?
Not at all. Look great.
Yeah. Anyway, look, there's a lot that we need to discuss. Peter Mandelson in a bathrobe. Did you see that picture? We'll come on to that a little bit later on in the programme. But look, politics. Let's listen to Kemi Badenoch today.
I am making the Prime Minister a serious offer, because the Conservative Party will always act in the national interest. If he is serious about cutting spending and really bringing down the welfare bill, we will help him. The last time he tried this in July, the Prime Minister was humiliated by his own backbenchers. he had to gut a bill just 90 minutes before MPs were due to vote on it.
That is a strong flag count there at the back. Did you see that? I think I counted at least 4. I admire the efforts of these flags popping up everywhere, but we are getting to the point now where people are desperately trying to out-flag each other, aren't we? Anyway, notwithstanding that, back to serious matters. This promise to try and work with Labour to get things over the line, welfare reform, good idea. Should Starmer accept or not?
Absolutely, but he won't. And this is not the first time that we've mooted this. We said it over. I think I've been involved with the party for about 35 years. And at certain times as a parliamentary candidate and all of those things, I've been on platforms where we've said, until we can stop using the NHS and the welfare system like a political football, we are not going to find solutions. Because the only way to do it is to get cross-party consent. I understand the ramifications and it's not straightforward. I think Kemi was straightforward on this. I think she was very practical in the approach that she'd taken. Clearly what we have seen is we have a Labour government that has a massive majority, and they were completely slaughtered actually by their own side trying to get through the lobbies to save £5 billion. Now, £5 billion in the scheme of things is actually very little, and they could barely do that, which just shows you how badly organised they were to end up in that situation, frankly, in the lobbies. I mean, if I was Keir Starmer, I think I'd have my arms open saying, can anybody please help me? But we can't afford this. It's become totally unaffordable. I mean, since they've been in the last year, another 1.1 million people are now on universal credit. We have got millions of people who are of an age to work, able to work, who are not working, not because there are no jobs, because they're on some sorts of benefits or for a whole variety of reasons. The system is not rigorous enough either. On disability, there are not enough face-to-face interviews because there are many people out there. I know people in wheelchairs who've worked all their life. And I think the number of the scamming and the fraud that's involved in this system is also appalling. And I think it behoves the department to really get its act together and make sure people are involved in face-to-face interviews, and then the best plans can be made forward for them to get back to work and get off these benefits. But Labour can't keep continuing like this because they just don't have the wherewithal. They're in hock to the trade unions, unfortunately, and but certainly from my point of view, and certainly as a Conservative, I would welcome any moves to try and really deal with these big challenges that we've got coming ahead.
Why didn't the Tories reform it then?
Oh, they tried. We've done all sorts of different reforms, Michelle. It's not to say we haven't. I mean, the benefit system for when I was very young, and there was literally, you got a bit of family allowance and people got a bit of money on the dole. I mean, there's no comparison to when I was a young person. We couldn't have just gone on the dole. I mean, when I grew up, you went to work or you were at school. I mean, there was nothing in the middle.
There was a stigma attached, actually,
Absolutely.
if you was someone that had to go onto the dole. I can remember those days. Chris, your thoughts?
I'm conflicted because normally I like people working together across the different parties. We need to fix things like the child welfare system, like our school system, and so I'm all in for kind of bipartisan collaboration. But I think it came across as a little bit patronising that it said, here's a party that had 14 years to reform our benefit system and didn't, and left the country in a very difficult economic situation. So why would Keir Starmer want to listen to them?
Because he can't get his own house in order. Despite having his huge majority, he can't get his house in order. He cannot reform welfare. He's tried. He was humiliated.
So, well, it's interesting, isn't it, that Nigel Farage doesn't think child welfare needs fixing. He thinks that we should be giving more children welfare support. He wants to get rid of the two-child benefit cap. So it's an interesting moment they're in. Some people arguing that we ought to be giving more benefit, more welfare, like the Reform Party, and some people like the Conservative Party saying, actually, we need to cut more. So, you know, it's not a left-right divide anymore.
It's not a left-right divide, and I think it's very interesting. If someone from Reform was here now, what they would be saying is that they feel that you need to encourage people to have a higher birth rate. So that's one of the reasons that they would propose making a return to the, the broader number of children that can qualify for the benefits, child benefits. But irrespective of the child benefits side of things, Do you think that things like benefits for anxiety, mental health, the amount of people that seem to be getting signed off that apparently can't do any work at all ever, don't you think that's a little bit out of hand?
So I think there are people who genuinely need the benefits. We need to make sure they get it. I think we need a system that is fair and clear and is able to assess people that are, or rule people out that are benefit fraudsters. But I don't think that's the majority of people. I think there are people who genuinely need it. We need to make sure they get it.
I know, but you see, oh, go on, you're itching, I'm itching as well, blimey. We could do about 5 hours on this, go on.
You know, this really kicked off in the 80s. I mean, we really, as a Conservative government during the 80s, we expanded the welfare system. I mean, in those days, if you were a single person, it wasn't until we came in that there was accommodation. When girls got pregnant, for example, and a lot of that backfired in actual fact. If you recall, people who were disabled were driving around in a funny little car that was absolutely deadly. And so we brought in a system where people would get a proper car, would get help to have proper transport. A lot of these systems have been absolutely blatantly abused. And where I agree with Michelle, you've got people, for example, who will have a disability car or be on benefits, who will have a bit of anxiety. So, or they've got trouble with their vision or something, and they're actually allocating cars. This really escalated again as well during COVID, when they stopped the face-to-face interviews with doctors. I think a lot of GPs, not all, a lot of GPs need to take a real hard look at what they are saying or what they are doing when they're recommending people to stay off sick. The best medicine, particularly if you've got psychological, and we all get pressures where we have grief, we have all sorts of things happen to all of us. It's life, it's called life. And the best way to get round that for the vast majority of people is to be in work. It might be voluntary work. It could be a charitable organisation you're with, but to get out and be actually
to have a
purpose,
people, to have a sense of purpose.
And until governments turn around and say we want proper face-to-face interviews, nobody is going to get benefits unless they present themselves to ensure that the benefits are actually being handled properly. And that's without another whole range of other things that actually are involved in all of this. We're not going to get to the bottom of the problem.
It feels to me that there has been such a change in attitude, because it used to be, I'm old enough to remember an employer called Remploy. Can you remember an employer called Remploy? And what Remploy used to do, and I'm stretching my memory here, and I don't have the best memory, I must confess, but Remploy used to be factories, and what they used to do was they used to proactively employ people that, for example, were disabled, that might struggle in a fast-paced workplace that had different requirements and needs. It was all, the focus was all about how can somebody who has physical challenges, other challenges, enter the world of work, be productive, give back to the economy, earn a living, and all, so on and so forth. So that attitude for me was, how can people do some form of work, whatever that work is, to whatever level. I feel now, obviously they were all closed down, I feel now that the first question that many people, not all, but many people ask is, how can I stay at home? How can I stop working? And actually, that's no good for anyone, whether it's the individual involved, for your mental health. It's no good for you in the longer term, and it's certainly no good for the economy. But then I would argue it needs a whole mental reset. How do you achieve that? The flip side of this is some people will be listening that genuinely, honestly can't work, and you'll be feeling really anxious and nervous about these kind of conversations, because you'll be shouting at your telly, hold on a minute, Michelle, I can't do anything, leave me alone. I hear your voice as well. Coming up after the break, I'll show you something that made me smile today, and I think it'll make you smile. And I also want to talk to you about NHS league tables. Are they a good thing or not?
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Looking ahead to tomorrow, and many places around southern Europe will have a lot of fine weather, but not everywhere. The heavy thundery rain that's been plaguing parts of Italy recently, that's pushing its way north and eastwards into parts of Greece, and there's still the risk of some thunder as it makes its way through. Elsewhere, lots of dry weather, yes, but across some parts of northern Portugal and northwest Spain, it is going to be pretty wet, even some strong winds. Otherwise, a largely fine picture as we go through into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. An unsettled day ahead tomorrow, cloudy for many with heavy showers and also spells of rain, particularly in the west. That's where we'll see areas of low pressure starting to move through. This one initially tonight bringing in spells of rain and then followed on behind by another area of low pressure, bringing some wet and windy conditions for Wednesday. Back to this evening, and this area of rain that's been across Wales and southwest England eventually moving its way northeastwards, pushing into central areas of England and parts of the south and southeast. This could be heavy and thundery at times. Also more cloud and showers starting to push in from the west, but with more cloud around that means it's not going to be quite as cool overnight. Many towns and cities dropping to around 11 to 13 degrees Celsius. Wednesday is set to be quite a changeable and mixed day. Once again, heavy showers starting to push into Wales, southwest England, plenty of cloud elsewhere and also a continuation of the showers. Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, once again cloudy, murky with some heavy showers through the first part of the morning. Fairly similar conditions across western and southern parts of Scotland. Towards the far northeast, though, it should remain mostly dry through the early hours, but even eventually here we'll start to see some showers creep through. And we'll see quite a changeable and mixed day, plenty of cloud around, showers which will turn heavy at times with some hail and thunder, with a secondary band of rain which we do just need to keep an eye on as it starts to push its way into Northern Ireland, parts of Wales and southwest England. And it's going to be quite a breezy day, if not quite blustery, particularly around western coasts. Temperatures around about average for the time of year. Heading into Thursday, and there'll be some drier and brighter spells, but once again mixed in with some showers. The bulk of the showers are likely to be towards northwestern parts of Scotland, northern coast of Northern Ireland, so some heavy and blustery downpours expected here. But elsewhere across the country there will be some bright and sunny spells in between. The showers are set to continue for the end of the week into the weekend, with temperatures remaining around average.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The A75 faces significant disruptions between Annan and Gretna due to a road incident. Travellers should anticipate prolonged travel times. In Essex, the M11 northbound is congested between Junction 6 and Junction 7 after a collision, leading to lane closures expected until at least 7:15 this evening. In Leicestershire, a road incident on the M1 northbound exit at Junction 24 has caused lane closures, resulting in a 10-minute delay. And on the trains, cross-country and Great Western Railway services are disrupted between Exeter St David's and Newton Abbot. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Dewbs & Co. and me, Michelle Dewberry. I've got Baroness Jacqueline Foster and Dr Krish Kandaya alongside me. You lot are having right old argy-barges, communicating with each other. I love it when you all debate each other. So many of you, I'm pleased that my memory hasn't failed me, because lots of you do actually remember Remploy as well. And it's really divided people. Nikki says, Michelle, Remploy was cruel. People who worked there got stigmatised and called various names that I'm not sure I can read out on the telly. Other people have said, Chris says, Michelle, Remploy were excellent. They were dedicated to providing quality jobs for all classes of people with disability. Maureen said, I used to work in the office of Remploy. Some of the people were disabled. Actually, they were absolutely wonderful. They worked very diligently every single day. And this is this point, isn't it, that even if you can't do, I don't know, whatever kind of job, there is often other opportunities that you would be able to do if you think differently. One of my viewers has got in touch as well and said, I'm a hypnotherapist, Michelle. I cure people of anxiety. I've never been convinced about hypnotherapy. That Green Party guy, he reckoned he could expand my bosom, apparently. if you he did. Well, not my bosom in particular, but bosoms in general. Mine's lovely. It doesn't need expanding, thank you, with hypnotherapy. Anyway, but it is before the watershed, so I shall be sensible. And one of my viewers as well has said, please can you point out that when it comes to mobility cars, they're not free, Michelle. This is Neil that says this. They're not free. People give up their mobility allowance in order to be mobile, so many of them, he says, can go to work. Look, before I come on to the NHS league tables, please can I show you something? I'll show you a quick snippet of it. It really made me smile today. Take a listen to this.
Mama,
can't lie, I could have sat and listened to that all day long. It is one of the best things I've seen. It is 5.5 minutes long, though, so I thought I'd better not play the entire thing. You can watch the entire thing on my Twitter, but it was lovely. You see, that's the power of music, and it cheers us all up. I'll tell you something that won't cheer you up, though, or it might, depending where you live. The NHS league tables. Have you seen this? Did you see this, Jacqueline? You've got all of these trusts now. Many of them have been ranked. Should we have a little look at the ones that came in the bottom? Let's have a little look. Let's start with the depressing ones, shall we? There you go. Can you see yours on the screen? And then there you go. If you're really depressed and you can see yours on the screen, you're going, oh, man's terrible. Let's just cheer you up then, shall we? Because look at the top ones. Places like Moorfields, eye hospitals coming out on top. Some people, Jacqueline, saying that these league tables are not very effective because they're just putting things in oversimplified boxes.
Well, they are, actually. I mean, it's not surprising, for example, that a specialist hospital, if you're looking at Moorfields or, you know, you're looking at others that just focus on specific issues, would be high up because they don't have the same challenges as a big general hospital that's going to be covering, I don't know, huge numbers of cases, which are all varied. I mean, it's useful to know if hospitals are performing well, but when it comes to the patient, I mean, if you dial 999 and an ambulance comes, you can't exactly get your list out in front of you and go, well, actually, can you take me to the following hospital because the one round the corner is number 57 on the list. So, you know, I see where he's coming from. He's trying to make sort of, I think, some inroads, Wes. But the reality is, you know, all hospitals should be performing to the best of their ability. And there has to be a recognition that they are quite different and they'll be serving different communities, they'll be in different places. If it's a cottage hospital somewhere in Teddington, for example, where I used to live, and then you've got a massive Royal Liverpool, for example, which is a massive hospital where I am on the Wirral, and other hospitals around the country. You know, there really is no comparison. So,
Chris,
you know,
like these, are you a fan or not?
Well, I agree with the Baroness that we need to compare apples with apples, and it wouldn't be fair to compare a hospital where maybe there's an area where there's lots of knife crime, where, you know, the A&E is dealing with some very serious injuries versus, you know, one in a more rural context. I think that we need to make sure that we're comparing the same thing with the same thing. But I do think transparency is good. I want to know that people are delivering as they should. But I'd be nervous if I felt I was being reduced to a statistic that the doctor's going to spend like 3 minutes with me because I've got to hit some kind of productivity target. We need to treat people as people. And, you know, my father's 84. He had to go to 4 different medical appointments in order to get seen by somebody. And I just felt he wasn't being treated as a human being. He was being treated as a statistic.
You're not wrong, because there's gross incompetence. I've got friends of mine in the medical profession who are seriously good, both doctors, nurses, surgeons, whatever. They tear their hair out. The bureaucracy and it's such a can't-do service rather than a can-do. They can do, because that's what they do. But so often they are so restricted, a lot of them that are in the NHS, when they know there are better ways and more efficient ways to treat patients and do various other things. And they are stymied, you know, by the numbers of managers there are now. 1 minute they had a secretary, then they've got 4 managers. I mean, really, it's the whole structure that needs actually a damn shake-up.
Stuart has been in touch. GB News member, thank you, Stuart. We very much appreciate you guys. He says, Michelle, I've worked from home for the last 5 years and I love it. I've worked for some brilliant people, and without flexible working, I would never have had a chance to meet them. But how did you meet them if you're working at home? What am I missing? How does all this networking... No, I'm serious. How does all this networking...
You meet them online. You can make friends, can't you?
Make friends online?
Yeah, if you've not done that.
I've never made friends online, actually, no.
Really? My daughter just got married at the weekend. She met her husband to be online. Worked really well, yeah.
She's only young.
Maybe that's where I'm going wrong in life. Maybe I need to spend more time online trying to make some friends, because I ain't got many in the real world. Look, when we come back, I need to talk to you. Jeffrey Epstein, have you seen Peter Mandelson's Bafra? Peter Mandelson in Bafra, I'll never unsee that. What do you make to these Epstein files? Also, as well, African nations now saying that Britain need to give them reparations. See you in 2.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dewbs & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hello everybody, welcome back. Michelle Dewberry, Jacqueline Foster and Krish Kandaya. Till 7 o'clock, Emma has just been in touch and said, Michelle, I was listening to your comments about unemployment. I was made redundant last year for the 6th time in my working life. She says, I turned 50 this year. She said, I've always been someone that goes out and get a job, but she's saying this time around she has struggled. She's applied for all kinds of jobs, really struggled. She's going on to tell me just about how anxiety then creeps in when it comes to rejections, interviews and so on. I've got to say, when you start getting older, I do hear from a lot of people that feel that there is some form of ageism when it comes to job applications. Do you feel that as well or not? Jeffrey Epstein, then, there's been so much speculation, hasn't there, about these birthday files and all the rest of it. Well, today, I've got to say, Peter Mandelson, he popped up in these files more than once. There were very, very, very strange things occurring in these Epstein files, I've got to tell you. You've got this picture now of Peter Mandelson in his bathrobe. I will never unsee this. I've always found it a bit uncomfortable seeing random men in bathrobes. I don't know why. Krish, what do you think of some of this stuff?
Jeffrey
Jeffrey
Epstein was running a grooming gang for rich and famous people, and we need to get to the bottom of this. Everybody that was involved in that abuse needs to be prosecuted, whether they were a president or an ambassador, whoever they were. We need to find these men and prosecute them.
Do you believe it's always men?
I think most of that abuse was from men to young girls. Obviously, Epstein's wife is in prison. She is the only person that's currently in prison for this.
Yeah, interesting. Jacqueline?
Well, I would agree. I mean, anybody involved in anything as gruesome as what apparently went on should be in jail. My question tends to be, though, Ghislaine Maxwell appears to be the only person that ended up in jail. And yet all of these, allegedly, rich, famous, varied numbers, hundreds of these men, nobody else seems to have been prosecuted. So That's rather odd. In terms of if we just move to the President of the United States, I mean, someone like Jeffrey Epstein, to be fair, someone like Jeffrey Epstein would have been very well known, would have had thousands of contacts, I would imagine, over his lifetime. And so I think what we have to be very careful of is that we don't presume that anyone that met him was part of these grooming gangs and obviously the sort of sex parties and various things apparently that went on. So I think we must be very thoughtful. Is Donald Trump guilty of knowing him? He said he knew him. And I think that the opposition to Donald Trump, particularly through the Democrats, will not stop while they will continue to try and discredit him in whatever way that they can. I'm not saying that they're responsible for this letter, but we know that there was such a lot of people that did not want President Trump to be elected again. And I think they'll go to any lengths. All the court cases against him, they'll go to any lengths to discredit him.
Well, time will tell. If you've not had a little peek at some of the stuff in those files, you might want to. It's very, very, very bizarre. Anyway, look, Lord Mandelson's spokesman has said that he has been very clear that he regrets very much ever having been introduced to Epstein. I know that some of you will have very strong thoughts on that. You can join the conversation all the usual ways. But before I end, let me ask you this. The African Union now have joined calls for Britain to pay reparations for what it calls historic crimes of colonialism. Let's cut to the chase. Is this what we should be spending our money on?
Absolutely not. I mean, my roots go back to Ireland. You know, what happened in Ireland 200 years ago, I wasn't there. People need to just get over it. And, you know, things happened, things have changed, things we would not repeat anymore. If we look at actually the history of slavery in Africa, I mean, it was the tribes that lived next door to each other that were practically annihilating each other because they had wars. All sorts of tribes in Europe had wars to gain power and to gain wealth and to gain all sorts of things. Then, of course, the Europeans landed. And so it was actually the black slave traders who then were in business with the white so-called slave traders, which really, then the slave trade became international, basically, which was absolutely horrendous. But is it our fault now? Is it our fault? Has there not been reparations in a way? Did we not bring anything to these countries that was of benefit? Of course we did, because we then had an industrial revolution and then people then started to move and live in different countries all over the world. So no, this is not the answer. And if you raised a load of money or took it off the British taxpayer, who's it supposed to go to and what's it supposed to do? I think people now we need to just park this, let's all move on. And we make sure we need to stop the slavery that's going on at the moment.
Well, I agree with you there. We do need to stop.
Absolutely.
We do need to stop the slavery that's going on today. But the vestiges of colonialism still exist. If you get an atlas out and you look at the map of Africa, it's full of straight lines. And those straight lines were drawn by rich people in drawing rooms in Europe who decided, well, you, Belgium, will have that bit, and you, France, will have that bit, and you, England, will have that bit. And then we extracted minerals and people from those places. So I think there are some historic injustices that we do need to put right.
Do you feel any guilt for some of this stuff? Because I notice your term "we" there.
Yeah, I'm a British person. I'm proud to be a British person. There are some skeletons in our cupboards that we need to fix.
But
we did bring some useful things.
Do you feel guilt? But I don't at all in any way, shape or form. I think slavery is absolutely barbaric. It is appalling. It's sickening. It should never have taken place. And I'm pleased that to most extents, albeit some modern slavery still occurs, that it's staying in history now. It's not happening today. But I don't walk around at all feeling any guilt.
When was the last time you were in Africa? Like, I was on the streets of Zambia, and there is abject poverty there. And some of that is due to historic problems that we created.
No, I don't agree. I was on the Africa, Caribbean, Pacific Joint Parliamentary Assembly as a member of the European Parliament. So we covered all of Africa and made various visits in a lot of... The biggest problem that Africa has, and other parts of the world, is corrupt government. The reason people are still trying to get clean water, the reason people are up to famine and wars, if you're looking at that beautiful continent, magnificent continent of Africa, is because of corrupt government, and particularly Africa.
I think it's very easy to wave a finger at Africa and say, you've got corrupt government, but every time we point, there are three fingers coming back. We've got our own corruption,
I was in Nigeria when I was an MEP, and the kids were living in gutters. And it's one of the wealthiest countries in Africa. We had a meeting with the British ambassador, and the corruption was horrendous. And that needs to be dealt with.
Well, there you go. What do you think to that? Because you might have strong opinions on that. Paul says, my ancestors were slaves to the rich, powerful and privileged over 1,000 years ago. Look, I'm not being awful, by the way. I feel it's awful when bad things happen, but just in the present day, I don't feel any guilt. Do you? And if you do, maybe what about a voluntary reparations fund then? You could donate voluntarily, maybe. Anyway, that's all we've got time for. Thanks to my panel. Thanks to you at home. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. An unsettled day ahead tomorrow, cloudy for many with heavy showers and also spells of rain, particularly in the west. That's where we'll see areas of low pressure starting to move through. This one initially tonight bringing in spells of rain and then followed on behind by another area of low pressure, bringing some wet and windy conditions for Wednesday. Back to this evening, and this area of rain that's been across Wales and southwest England eventually moving its way northeastwards, pushing into central areas of England and parts of the south and southeast. This could be heavy and thundery at times. Also more cloud and showers starting to push in from the west, but with more cloud around that means it's not going to be quite as cool overnight. Many towns and cities dropping to around 11 to 13 degrees Celsius. Wednesday is set to be quite a changeable and mixed day. Once again, heavy showers starting to push into Wales, southwest England, plenty of cloud elsewhere and also a continuation of the showers. Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, once again cloudy, murky with some heavy showers through the first part of the morning. Fairly similar conditions across western and southern parts of Scotland. Towards the far northeast, though, it should remain mostly dry through the early hours, but even eventually here we'll start to see some showers creep through. And we'll see quite a changeable and mixed day, plenty of cloud around, showers which will turn heavy at times with some hail and thunder, with a secondary band of rain which we do just need to keep an eye on as it starts to push its way into Northern Ireland, parts of Wales and southwest England. And it's going to be quite a breezy day, if not quite blustery, particularly around western coasts. Temperatures around about average for the time of year. Heading into Thursday, and there'll be some drier and brighter spells, but once again mixed in with some showers. The bulk of the showers are likely to be towards northwestern parts of Scotland, northern coast of Northern Ireland, so some heavy and blustery downpours expected here. But elsewhere across the country, there will be some bright and sunny spells in between. The showers are set to continue for the end of the week into the weekend, with temperatures remaining around average.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. On the A75, a road incident between Annan and Gretna has restricted the route. Delays are expected and drivers should proceed with caution. On the M1 northbound exit slip at junction 24 in Leicestershire, an incident is causing lane closures with about 10-minute delays. The A66 eastbound in Cumbria between the A595 south and north junctions is closed due to an accident. All lanes are shut, so drivers should seek alternate routes. And on the trains, there is significant disruption between Exeter St David's and Newton Abbot, affecting cross-country and Great Western Railway services. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. This brand new 2025 Benimar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.